Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to share some thoughts about Chapter 5 of the Scarlet Letter, A Night on the Scaffold. In particular, I would like to focus on the guilt that Mr. Dimmesdale feels. On 32, we have reference to the black secret of his soul. We know, of course, that he's the father of Hester's child, and he feels not only shame about it, but also guilt. First, he feels guilt towards the members of his church, the members of his town. And at the bottom of 32, he said, more than once he stood in front of them in church, took a deep breath, and told them what? He told them that he was the worst of sinners, hateful, dishonest, unclean, an evil thing in the sight of God. But then the story goes on to say, but did they understand? No. And the reason they don't understand is that he never actually confesses that he was the father of Hester's child. He only talks in kind of vague generalities about it. He never really tells the truth. They believe that he is speaking openly about his weaknesses, but he actually isn't. He also feels guilty towards Hester. And later on 33, he thinks about her hours of public shame standing on the scaffold. And he imagines that he sees her walking with little Pearl and that she points a finger, first at the scarlet letter on her bosom and then at his chest. She doesn't actually do this, but he imagines this, so this haunts him. And so in this chapter, one summer night, he's unable to sleep, and it's about midnight, and it's a cloudy night, so he feels a compulsion to go to the scaffold. And he goes to the scaffold by himself, the place where Hester had stood in front of the town, and he reflects upon what he has done. And on 33, it said, it was midnight and the town was asleep. Clouds covered the sky, and Mr. Dimmesdale could stand there until morning without fear of discovery. Why then was he there? What had made him come? Guilt, shame, he did not know. This night, actually, the townspeople were not asleep. There had been a death, and so during the night when everyone should be in bed, many people were actually awake. On 34, he sees the governor standing in the window. Then Mr. Wilson, the older priest, passed by but doesn't see him. And then on 35, Hester and Pearl pass by him, and he calls out to them. And so they come and they join him standing on the scaffold together. And they hold hands there. And then on 36, Pearl, the child, looks up at the priest, and she whispers to him, will you stand here with Mother and me tomorrow, Mr. Dimmesdale? She's asking him, will you publicly acknowledge me as your father? And then he says to her, no, my little Pearl, I shall stand with you and your mother one day, but not tomorrow. And then Pearl asks him, when? What day? And he responds, the great judgment day. Then and there, your mother and I must stand together, but not before then, not in the daylight of this world. And you may be wondering what he's talking about, the judgment day. This is actually a belief in Christianity that Jesus, who is considered the Son of God, will return to earth. And at that point, he will judge the living and the dead. That God will look into the souls of men and women and judge whether they have been righteous and can be brought to heaven, or if they should be condemned for their sins. And so that's what he's referring to here. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's helped you understand the book a little bit more. Thank you.